sure that we can avoid receiving these plagues. Okay, how we can avoid it. Now, the first plague is found in Revelation 16, verses 1 and 2. It says here that, and I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the seven angels, go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. Okay, and the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore. This is a painful sore. I don't know if you have experienced a sore in your skin, and when those sores are actually, big, are swollen, and there's some liquid coming out. Those are painful, and so this is one of the plague actually that God is going to pour out to this earth. Okay, now let's go to the second one. The second and the third is about the ocean, and the rivers and fountains of waters will become blood. Think about that. First was the sore, and this time all the waters in the ocean and in the fountains, in the rivers and in the lakes will become blood. And then that means there's nothing to drink. Okay, nothing to drink, because everything will be just blood. Okay, now let's go to the third one here. The fourth plague. What would be the fourth plague? The sun, it says here, and the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. That means it will be very hot. Okay, that it says here, men were scorched with great heat and blasphemed the name of God, which had power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him the glory. Okay, now when the sun is heated 7 times or 10 times, when the sun is heated, everything will just die. Everything will die. All the vegetation will die. That means there's nothing for men to eat, to get from the farm, from the garden, because everything will just die. Okay, that's the fourth plague. Now the fifth plague actually is designed for the beast, and also the river Euphrates. It says here that the fifth poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness. The sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up. Now, this one is something that is a separate study, That let's go to the seventh plague. The seventh plague is even worse. It says here that the seventh angel poured out his vial up into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, it is done. And then what happened? Verse 18, and there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake and so great. Remember, California has been discussing about great earthquake coming. This is the big earthquake here. It is being prophesied in the book of Revelation. There's going to be a big earthquake that it says here, the cities of the nations fell. That means all these tall buildings in the cities, they are going to crumble. Men are saying that now we built this building is that earthquake proof, right? They say that it's earthquake proof, but there's no such thing as earthquake proof at this time when God is going to pour out this plague. Okay, it says here the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came in remembrance before God. Okay, and it says here in verse 20, every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. Okay, and it says here, verse 21, there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. Hail falling from heaven. How heavy is this? How heavy are this hail? It says here, a weight of a talent. You know what is a weight of a talent? Is equivalent to 50 to 60 pounds. I mean, who's going to survive in this hailstorm? Even just a size of golf balls, those golf. I've seen those hail actually in the YouTube size of a golf. And they are, terrible, and it will really destroy, you know. Uh, so these are the plagues that are being designed, okay? But the question is how we can avoid receiving these plagues. That's the number one question. How can we avoid receiving these plagues? Now let's go to this slides, okay? How we can avoid these plagues, okay? Now in the book of Revelation, okay, Revelation 14 gives us the warning of how we can avoid receiving these plagues. It says here in Revelation 14, 6 to 11, and I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people. See, John actually saw this angel flying in the midst of heaven, proclaiming the everlasting gospel. Okay? And in verse 7, saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory to him. For the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. So number one warning is given here, fear God. Give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth. And then verse 8, and there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, the great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascended up forever and ever, and they have no what? Rest day nor night. There's no rest for those people who is not obeying God. No rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. So the warning is so clear here in the book of Revelation, that the only way that we can avoid, fear God, give glory to him, worship him that made heaven and earth, okay? And then do not worship the beast and his image, and do not receive his mark. Okay? Now let's try to summarize. Let's just discuss these three things. Fear God, give glory to him. Number two, worship God that made heaven and earth. Number three, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark, they will receive the wrath of God, right? Now let's go to number one here. How do you fear God and give glory to him? Okay? Fear God, give glory to God. Okay? How do you do that? In Proverbs 3, verse 7, how do you fear God? Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord and what? Depart from evil. Do not do evil thing. That's how you fear the Lord. Okay? Proverbs 8:13, the fear of the Lord is what? To hate evil. Pride and arrogancy and the evil way and the froward mouth do I hate. You know, those mouth that speaks perverse things, you know. Mouth that probably do gossip, you know. Tail bearing, you know, people. So, yeah. Yeah. So, if you fear God, you don't do all those things. And then Ecclesiastes 12:13, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God. What's the next one? And keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. In other words, if you fear God, you keep his commandments. Remember, Jesus said in John 14:15, if you love me, keep my commandments. So the 10 Commandments is really important. You know, the 10 Commandments very important. If you go to Deuteronomy, let me go to Deuteronomy here. In Deuteronomy 11:26 to 28, it says here, behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you this day. And verse 28, and a curse if you will not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside out of the way which I command you this day, to go after other gods which ye have not known. Now, you know, when you are obedient to God's commandments, you know, one of the blessing that is given, Exodus 15:26. When you are obedient to his commandments, it says here, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and wilt do that which is right in his sight. In other words, you do what is right. It says here, and wilt give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee. In other words, you will have good health. You will not be sick. Probably, you will be tried. Maybe there will be some trials, just like Job. Job was perfect in the sight of God, but he was tried. Okay, so do not consider those people who are sick that they have disobeyed God. Because not all people who are being tried who disobey God. Because Job was perfect in the sight of God, but he was being tried. Okay, so if we are actually faithful, obedient to his commandments, then God is not going to give all these diseases that he gave to the Egyptians. Okay, so Deuteronomy 28, 1-14. If you study Deuteronomy 28, the whole chapter of Deuteronomy 28, verses 1-14 talks about the blessing of obedience. You will have good health. And in verses 15-68, the curses if you disobey God. Okay, so and we don't want those curses though. We want the blessing only. Okay, but the only we can only receive those blessings if we are obedient to God. Now, how do we give glory to God? In 1 Corinthians 10:31, it says here, whether therefore ye eat or drink, or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God. In other words, when you eat, you make sure that you're eating to the glory of God. You're drinking to the glory of God. Can you glorify God when you drink alcohol? When you're drinking alcohol that you get drunk? Right? I don't think it's glorifying. It will damage your system. When you're smoking, are you glorifying God? No. It says here, whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of God. This is the only way that we can avoid receiving the plagues. We need to glorify God. In 1 Corinthians 3:16 and 17, know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy. For the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are. Our body is the temple of God. So if we try to defile this temple by putting things that are not good, then God is going to destroy this body. Okay? So that's how we can glorify God, and to glorify God also is actually to reveal his character, to manifest his character in us. What about number 2? Worship God that made heaven and earth. How do you worship God? It says here in John 4 verse 24, God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. So God is a spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Now, those people who are worshiping God on a different day, like on the first day of the week, are they really worshiping God in spirit and in truth? If God is a spirit and that we must worship him in spirit and in truth, is it truth to worship him on a different day than what he specified? Okay, it says here in Exodus 20:8-11, remember the day that he set aside, according to the discussion we had a while ago, that he had set aside a Sabbath, actually, that we can rest, right? It says here, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. So is it truth to worship